And we are wrestling with NXT Takeover 31. And if you were smart, you listened to it on the remix with Scooter Dust.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you think about this paid preview, Scooter?
Well, honestly, it was really good in terms of performance. You know, for only 5 matches, and despite no title changes, these matches, if I haven't actually haven't seen what the Wrestling Observer gave each match, but I would say each match was at least 3.5 stars.
And I mean, that sounds about right for a takeover. I mean, especially when considering who you had on the show. And that will bring us to our first match. Damian Priest defeating Johnny Gargano to retain the NXT North American Championship. I mean, nobody really expects Johnny Gargano to win a takeover match at this point, but he still gives the best performances on the card, right, Scooter?
Absolutely, and you know at this point, I think Johnny Gargano has earned the the moniker of being that top of the card guy that can always lose and still retain his spot on the card.
That sounds about right. I mean, yeah, he's definitely one of those guys that, a loss doesn't kill him at this point. I mean, more or less it's expected of him at this point.
I mean, I really do hope Gargano eventually, I will say, I hope that the losing infuriates him so much that he actually wants to leave NXT. Yeah, but I mean, Gargano wants to be a big fish in a small pond, but even even the big fish, you know what? I don't know where I was going with that analogy, but
Time to move
it,
on.
it, it's time for Gargano to move on. It really is.
I think you're right. Especially him and Champa has more or less done everything, so it would make sense for them to maybe go to greener pastures. I mean, Champa has shown that he's able to do it. He's been on Raw and SmackDown, and he didn't look out of place at all. And that will bring us to our next match, Kushida versus Velveteen Dream. Kushida won via submission. Kushida's first ever takeover match. It certainly didn't disappoint. No, Scooter?
Yeah, certainly did not disappoint. I really hope this is the start of bigger things for Kushida in NXT. It he seems like the logical next person to feud for the NXT Championship.
I mean, on
But
paper, yeah.
but given NXT's reputation with Japanese champions, they're 50-50 on that. I mean, having only succeeded really with Shinsuke Nakamura, but not with Hideo Itami, aka Kenta.
Yeah, you're right about that, but I could also make the argument they were never able to pull the trigger on Itami/Kenta.
That is also true, but I mean, he did. I mean, yeah. I can't counter that.
And joining us, Kaliko Yachts.
Ooh, sorry for the delay. I just got some great news. It was my agent, so I'm officially a homeowner. Finally.
Hey, so we're not seeing you on House Hunters.
Yeah, no House Hunters episode today.
when you said agent, I thought you were going to announce that you had signed with
WWE.
New Japan.
I signed this out for the G1. Late entrant into the G1. Yeah, that's me.
Drafted to Raw, Kaliko Yachts.
No, it'd be yes, Kaliko.
Kaliko.
Obviously, you're a little late, Kaliko. We talked a little bit about the draft. Have you been able to see anything of the draft?
Wait, hold on. Before you speak, we have to mention that every time we say draft, we're actually doing it with quotation fingers.
Oh, okay. So, draft. Yeah, because it's not like they drafted people from the streets. They drafted like their own employees. Yeah. The draft, it's kind of weird that they're doing it around this time, especially with that pay-per-view coming up. So, usually it's right after SummerSlam where they kind of wipe the board clean.
Yeah, but next week is the season premiere of SmackDown
on Fox. Yeah.
So next week Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman for the Universal Championship, and next week SmackDown, the farewell to the New Day.
Oh, they're going to Raw.
No, Kofi and Xavier are going to Raw.
Word. What? They broke them. Well, it's not a breakup, more of a divide and conquer.
But not only that, not only is Big E staying on SmackDown, but Kofi and Xavier are now the SmackDown Tag Team Champions.
So that means the SmackDown Tag Team Champions are just swapping over, and Street Profits are coming to SmackDown. I kind of figured the Street Profits would get there because they basically wiped the division. They need new people.
I mean,
unless you want to see them against Andrade and Angel for the 38,000th time.
But Angel was drafted separately,
which is good for him because you kind of figured that he was gonna go solo. You knew it was coming that they were breaking him up. What I didn't expect was the breakup between Andrade and Zelina. That one was like more of a shocker, but.
And I really hope Raw ends up becoming blue and SmackDown ends up becoming red.
The only reason I would say it wouldn't, because Fox in itself is blue.
Yeah.
As much as I would love, as much as that would make sense, and plus, most people like the blue Universal title than the red Universal title. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could see, Vince doing that before having to explain, trading the tag team championships.
Oh yeah, that is a good point. Because I mean, well, since they get drafted by Raw, they're officially the Raw, unless they lose the belts between
Yeah,
then and
I
This is a
mean,
possibility.
and that could happen. Because I think that because New Day's gotten to the point where like being tag champ is good, but it's not like they're bigger than you can make an argument they're the top five. They're when you think of WWE now, they're in the top five, maybe top three.
And Kaliko, we're talking about NXT Takeover 31 right now. Casino and Velveteen Dream. What did you think about the match?
It was actually pretty good. I mean, the way that it ended, it kind of put a mean streak in Kushida. Because think about ever since Kushida got there, and this is the thing that WWE when they want to turn it on, they can is like giving people that tough streak. Because it's happened in New Day where they were seeming hokey until like the Usos brought it out of them. They Street Profits were kind of hokey until Andrade and Garza got it out of them. And Kushida was the same way until Velveteen Dream got it out of him. Because even after the match, he just was like, to him, it wasn't about the match. It was more like, yeah, it was about winning the match because he needed it. But that stuff after was like, you know, some serious stuff. Plus, when Dream came out as Doc from Back to the Future, that was just like, that was some crazy shit. But But I wish Velveteen wished he had a DeLorean to go back to when he was over. But uh, uh,
he might have done as much coke as John DeLorean.
so I mean, to me, I feel he puts on good matches. It's, like we always say, it's always the other shit. And to me, that means he's not going to get fired because when Shawn Michaels is vouching for you, and that's what I'm betting. I'm betting Shawn is vouching for him, and he's just gonna have to take these lumps and then figure out what's gonna happen down the line.
Somebody that we haven't seen a lot of on NXT or NXT takeovers. Santos Escobar defeated Isaiah Scott to retain the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. This was a great showcasing of both guys in a mainstream singles match. No, Scooter?
Absolutely. Um, yeah, we talked about it during the remix about the omen of removing the mask if you are a luchador and then putting it back on, as being bad luck. But also the personality change that comes with taking off the mask. And while as El Hijo del Fantasma, Escobar was high flying and whatnot, but as Santos Escobar, more grounded, more technical, and it's a really good pairing when up against somebody like Isaiah Scott.
What about you, Kaliko? What was your thoughts on the match?
A a really good back and forth match, and it had its points where I thought Swerve was gonna get it because he was just this close. You know what I mean? And it showed like he had his number before, but now Santos is his new guy, and it ain't the same dude he fought, just a different personality. Uh, I guess they're trying to, and they're always looking for the next Latin star. Uh, so it made sense in that regard. But I think this isn't the last time we see Isaiah go after that title, um, unless he gets pulled up to one of the main rosters, and you know. But I feel like that they match well, and I think that should be a longer feud.
You said that next big Latin star. Uh, to both of you, you think Escobar could maybe get to NXT World Championship status, or maybe even get something big on the main roster, Scooter?
Hmm. It's possible, although I might say that if Vince keeps up with the news, he might be souring on really pushing any Mexican wrestlers to the main event anytime soon, given that Alberto Del Rio has been indicted.
Indicted, yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, yeah, they pushed him back in the day, but Garza, Santos, Andrade, different guys. I mean, can you really blame one bad guy like Del Rio for their actions?
no, we can blame Vince for
No,
being a racist who thinks they're all the same.
no, I don't think that'll be the case. Uh, I will say though, NXT, I feel he has a better uh floor, a better floor, because I feel like NXT is the one place where your weight really doesn't, or your size doesn't define how, what championship you go for. Because fucking Gargano's won all the bitches. So that tells you that they're willing to put it on whoever they feel is the best wrestler. The main roster would be a big difference because, Vince boxes you in, and it's hard to get to break out of that mold once you're in that mold. Kind of like, prime example, Cedric Alexander. Like, he started off in the cruiserweight tournament, and you really haven't seen him, go above anything other than cruiserweight. And that's where I feel like it's a strength and a detriment.
Well, yeah, earlier today, it was released. The information was released that Finn Balor was not the initial choice for the main roster superstar to return to NXT. It was apparently supposed to be Kevin Owens.
Well, Kevin Owens was already on the main roster.
Yes, but when it would have been Kevin Owens going to NXT, decide to go to NXT instead of Finn Balor.
Okay, I understand what you mean.
Yeah. So,
and that would have made sense because think about it. He was at War Games last year. And it gave the impression that he could come back. So I get it.
yeah.
Next up, Io Shirai defeated Candice LeRae to retain the NXT Women's Championship. Io Shirai, badass world champion, no? She really holds up that division. Scooter?
I mean, at one point we thought she was going to be all that was left of the division. But then, we got Tony Storm and Ember Moon.
Two big bolstering ads. But continue.
And which also, the match was good and cements Io Shirai a as a top women's division competitor. But more than that, this showed us that things are looking up for NXT in terms of hopefully seeing more NXT UK superstars come stateside soon. So the match not just good for NXT, but not just good for Io Shirai, but good for NXT overall.
What say you, Kaliko?
Totally agree with everything my compadre says. And huge shout, and I think the most interesting match would be the Tony Io, obviously because of the Mae Young Classic rematch. And there's a story there where Tony kind of got the best of her.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I forgot about that.
Ember Moon, honestly, just her getting back in the ring is a miracle in itself, because there were reports, and even she was admitting that it could have been life threatening, or like injury ending, rather. Not life threatening, but injury ending or career ending. So for her to come back is just a testament of its own. But those two names brings up a huge facelift to the women's division. I feel like they might need a couple more though, a couple more pieces that could get called up or switched over in between, that are some good singles wrestlers that could like give it a solid, make it a lot more solid than what it is. Because all I could think of is all the mixings of a Tony Dakota, Ember Dakota, Raquel and Ember. You just give me a couple more pieces, couple more, and it would be a hell of a lot better.
I mean, it seems like they've been really bringing up Shotzi Blackheart in the recent months.
That is true too. So that's what, and that's the thing. Just like mix the young bucks with those vets, and it's a win-win, because it's new matchups that they never seen before, and they get the experience, and we get the pleasure of looking at, oh my God, how would this work stylistically? How would this? So yeah.
And that brings us to our main event, the NXT Championship match: Finn Balor versus Kyle O'Reilly. Finn Balor got the W. But it wasn't without its repercussions. Finn Balor broke his jaw. Kyle O'Reilly, supposedly, if you believe the rumor and innuendos, suffered a concussion. And the thing that took us out of that night, Rich Holland laying out Adam Cole. Well, Rich Holland was laid out a couple nights later with a knee injury that he had surgery on the next day.
Yep. Just a lot of tangling parts right there. And it's just like literally a lot. Literally.
How about we start with the actual match? Scooter, how was the match?
Defied expectations all around. Nobody really thinks, and there's you could almost equate this to Roman and Jey Uso, that when one half of someone who has always been known as a tag team wrestler within WWE and NXT, when they go up against a champion in a singles push, it's usually one-sided. It really is most of the time. Not here. Not here. It defied all expectations, and as a WWE fan, I look for those rare moments where they make me question if I really know what's going to happen. And that's what happened. And that's what happened with Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly.
Now the aftermath: broken jaw, concussions, broken ribs galore. Was the match, this great 5-star match, worth the repercussions?
Well, I mean, Finn Balor will live to defend the title again, so I guess a second title defense means yes.
And Rich Holland, what could have been? Do you think it would have been good, or do you think it was?
Yeah, see, for those who don't know, Ridge Holland was a professional rugby player.
Right.
And he, not well known in the States, but across the pond in the UK and whatnot, he was almost the rugby equivalent of David Beckham. That's how well known he was. I can't remember what his actual real name is though.
Because you're an American. You watch actual football.
Yeah, Americans kind of, when it comes to rugby, yeah, I could forgive you if you.
Yeah, we just let our rugs be.
Exactly. Like we treat rugby and soccer like jack.
And so I'm not so sure if it would have been good, because Ridge was one of the few people that got stuck in the States when the travel ban hit from NXT UK, and he was supposed to get a huge push over at NXT UK. So
that made sense because everybody knew who the hell he was. And
yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a blessing in disguise because I'm really freaking hoping Finn Balor, Kushida, that's gotta be coming up.
Well, from your mouth to Vince McMahon's ears. And Kaliko, your thoughts on the actual match?
I thought this match, the injuries are not surprising based on how hard they went. There was a thing where they said Balor called it earlier. It was supposed to go longer. So think about that. It got called early. And it should have been longer. You gotta give WWE kudos for these matches where we're looking like what the hell, and then it comes out and you're like, wow. You know what I mean? So as much as we give them shit for all the stupidity with T-Bar and T-Rex and Snickers bar and so on and so forth, when they get it right, when they get like a right matchup and it defies everything that we think, it's only right to give them the kudos as well. And I will say with the Jay and the Roman thing, they knocked it out the park. This one, they truly knocked it out the park. This match was better than the Cole Balor match. And think about that. Like that match was better than Cole Balor.
But O'Reilly's
And that was
always
the
been
one.
an underrated performer.
But well, O'Reilly, I wouldn't say he's underrated. I would say he's overlooked
That's a
because
better word.
if because to me, I've seen him and he had his matches in ROH and he was a former ROH champion. He had a feud with Adam Cole. They had some really good matches. So it's not like I never seen him like have this match. I knew he had it in him. It was just a matter of this was the right time for him.
Right.
And that to me is better because you could always jump in the prime example, Alberto Del Rio. Remember when he joined the WWE and he was like a rocket to his ass and people kind of rejected him. I feel like with O'Reilly, like him being the tag guy, and it's the funny thing. That's the funny thing I don't get about WWE. They like the tag guys always sometimes come out and they just overperform, and we've seen it with Jay and Kyle because we just see them as just two tag dudes, and that's it. And then when they put some shit out there as like this, we're like, holy shit, they could get the belt.
And your thoughts on Ridge Holland and what could have been?
Totally unfortunate. I let's just hope it's a speedy recovery and he could get back as soon as possible. But it's always like that moment, and I know when people get their injury, they think of the the process more so than the return. So let's just hope he's more worried about the return and not having to deal with the process and let that mess with him and get into a mental state. Because I think when he comes back, he's going to be like really fire.
And that will conclude our coverage of NXT 31 Takeover.